what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Sunday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Papers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton, and also joined by the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and now co-worker Jeff Howe, joining us as well. Thank you guys wherever you're joining us from in Longhorn Nation. We appreciate it. Of course, we can talk about Texas baseball. Broke out rooms, yes. The Aggies. Oh man, nothing better than that. Yeah, Aggie tears. Our Longhorn fans right now having a good time enjoying them Aggie tears. We can talk about that. We'll also get into the end of spring football. A lot of you, I'm sure, went to the Fan Fest that they had on the 40 acres this past weekend. I was down there as well. We can get into that a little bit and talk about it. Of course, the NFL draft was also a big topic of conversation among Longhorn fans, as well it should have been, with 12 Longhorns coming off the board. So in back-to-back years, the Longhorns have double-digit guys drafted, 23 in the last 2 years. Jerry and Billy L. Shambles.
Hey, somebody asked it. Hold on, I gotta hit this out real quick. Andrew Shazer asked, "Is Jerry?" No, this is Josie and I's running joke. He's a big Oregon guy. On it's kind of our back and forth with each other. Wait, we gotta hit one more. Sandman asked, "Does Billy Lucci really still want to fight GH in the cemetery? Place to find an Aggie these days."
You have beef with Billy. Do you have beef with Billy Lucci?
No. I called him out. I called him and Broninger out after Schloss left for A&M. After he left A&M for Texas. Because they had him on the show and kissed his ass for all these years. Then they tried to immediately character assassinate him when he left. And I just said, that's beyond anything. It was total BS what they tried to do. And it's funny, when you get swept by 3 one-run games, that's the worst kind, by the way, right, Jeff Howe? If you'd lost 9-0, 8-1, and 12-0, you could just be like, whatever. You lost 3 one-run games. That's the worst kind.
Especially, yesterday you got the tying run on third, and Volantis shuts the door, and then you got the go-ahead run on first in the top of the ninth, and Max Grubbs. I think that was a one-pitch save today or one-pitch victory, getting the double place. Yeah, it's there's a lot of ways to get kicked in the nuts in a baseball game, and losing one-run games, finding different ways to lose one-run games is that's one way to make it happen.
And it's not just happening in baseball. I believe, Jerry, you informed me before the show started. Shout out to Kyle Umlang, who always has the great stats to help you troll the Aggies. You want to win a debate against an Aggie? Shout out to Kyle Umlang. He just gives you all the material you need. You get all the material you need because you just got to go through his Twitter and he hits it up. But he is the record now in all the sports combined, 13-4. Longhorns over the Aggies in the SEC.
6-1 in your big three. 1-0 football, 3-0 baseball, 2-1 basketball.
Yeah, man. So usually a rivalry means, the other side's doing their part right now. It's kind of it's a butt kicking going on between the Longhorns and the Aggies. So we can talk about that. Yes, great day to be a Longhorn as well. So I know Texas baseball. I was actually out there earlier today talking to Big Red, Keith Moreland. I got a chance to talk to Ruger, who's I got to tell you, dude, that dude is legit. I mean, just having conversations with him, the mindset, though, the swagger these young guys got with the mustaches and stuff, man, it's a different type of swag going on with Texas baseball, man, no doubt. I was in the midst of it today. It's something special. And like I said, I got a chance to talk to Big Red. We talked to Shiraldi as well. So talking to some guys who have been there and done it, and they agree that this group, they got a chance to do something special. That's as far as I'll go. All right. I want to jinx it.
If you want to talk Texas baseball, Rod Babers, you either got to have your name on the wall or a ring on your finger based on the company you keep, Rod.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That's the kind of guys I was talking to today. And yeah, there's something special going on with Texas baseball right now. So shout out to them. Congratulations to Texas baseball breaking up the brooms on the Aggies. It's always good stuff. But of course, we got a lot of questions to get into. We'll talk about the NFL draft as well. I'll throw it to Jerry, talk a little bit about recruiting. Had some guys on campus this past weekend, and Jerry was down there, obviously working hard, grinding, getting you guys the goods, which we always appreciate from Jerry, the hardest working member of our team. Actually, Matthew is, and then Jerry. So that's a list. Matthew, I think Jerry gets like a couple of days maybe to relax, and Matthew gets none of those days.
By the way, Matthew had the greatest weekend of all. The Philadelphia Eagles crushed another NFL draft.
That's every damn week. That's every damn draft, Jerry. That's every draft the Philadelphia Eagles end up with these damn players, these great players just falling in their lap. I know he's a great GM. He might be the best GM in the NFL. But damn, some of this stuff, it's just too easy for him. You ain't even making them have to work to get players who are top 10 on their board.
I mean, his first round, he got Jahad Campbell, who Nick Saban obviously recruited and thought was best linebacker, right? And then, I mean, he just goes from there. Just pick after pick after pick.
The Makuma pick is a good pick.
The Makuma pick's a great pick. I mean, it's just like they do a great job scouting, but they do a great job in decision-making around their scouting. And I think that's always the key, right, Rod? It's one thing to scout it well, but then you have to make decisions around your scouting. And the Philadelphia Eagles are knocking it out of the park.
No, and that's why, and Howie Roseman, you could tell me, like, he loves Alabama players, he loves Georgia players, right? He's like, no, I'm gonna take the guys who the football programs that I target, they have vetted the football character of their best guys. Sark talks about that. Sark talks about recruiting players from championship programs. I think a lot of it is because it gives you a head start on developing the football character, because you can't be, as you guys know, those top tier football programs in Austin and in DFW and in Houston. Oh no, you ain't gonna be a dog and a leader on those teams if you're not of really good football character, and you're not a good leader, and you don't respect the game, respect your teammates, have great work ethic. It almost cultivates that automatically. I think the same thing in the NFL. That's at least Howard Roseman, he believes that. So, but I think Makuma, my prediction, he starts in maybe 2+ years. He'll end up starting for them. The safety position is the only position they aren't loaded at. Every other position on defense for the Eagles, they are stacked. Jahad Campbell, they don't even need him for 2 years. Like he can just sit back, deal with, relax and recover fully. They don't even need that dude. They're so loaded in the front seven and at the cornerback position too. Right now, they got their 2 starting corners basically in the draft last year, so they're loaded. Safety, that's the only place where they're not, in my opinion, like they don't have all-star elite players at that spot.
I agree with Marco 100%. Yeah, Cam Williams, the Eagles' best spot. Yeah, Jeff Stoutland, maybe the best O-line coach in football right now. That's again the genius of Howie Roseman. You just hanging there in the 6th round, and you're saying, well, Lane Johnson's not going to play forever. You can always use offensive linemen. It's never a bad time to draft an offensive lineman. If Cam Williams needs to get healthy and work his knee back and work on his body, he can do it basically redshirting for them for a year. So, And at that point, Rod, in the 6th round, you're not planning on finding an immediate starter anyway.
Nope.
So
that's a guy on too.
100%, Jerry. If that's a guy that if he makes your Rod, maybe you just IR him for the year, and just keep him around, let him work out, let him rehab. He makes your roster next year. Boom, you end up getting a future starter out of a 6th round pick. So that's what the good organizations. When I like the fact that we're seeing smart organizations take Texas players. To your point, Rod, the Eagles are taking Texas players. Sean Payton and the Broncos taking Texas players. The Packers are taking Texas players. We've seen the Chiefs do it. So to your point about football character, 100%, couldn't agree more. Just based on the front offices that are taking Texas guys.
That's a great point, Jeff. Yeah, they're looking at Texas like one of those programs right now. And honestly, the truth is, kind of looking at Texas the last couple of years, and although I've enjoyed the ascent and the progress, I found myself looking at those 23 NFL players drafted over the last 2 years and thinking, now I'm a little upset and disappointed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, damn, that's a lot of players. Ooh, there's a lot of NFL's a lot of talent, 1st round, 2nd round, high-end NFL talent. I thought to myself, and I think Texas might have underachieved. Now looking at it, how much talent that they've stockpiled. Sorry, Sark, you're a prisoner now of your own excellence. Ask Mac Brown about it. You start putting out great players like that, developing great players like that, the expectations only increase. Slosh just got here, and they're like, I think we can win a national title this year. And if they don't win it, Longhorn fans going to be disappointed. That's, you get it all in Texas, but that also includes the expectations. And like I said, I, even as a reasonable, rational Longhorn fan, you guys know, I try to be as reasonable and rational as I can. I find myself looking at them going, damn, I think we underachieved. I think we could. I think Texas should have won more, considering how much talent now they had stockpiled, and that the NFL caliber talent they had stockpiled the last 2 years.
Well, that's the one thing and look, it's a continual build, right? I mean, but that's the one thing the last 2 years, Rod, you're like, you had a chance to win both those games late.
Yep.
And once you get to a national title game, you never know what's going to happen, right? You're so close just to getting there and giving yourself a chance. Mm-hmm. And fans, coaches, players, I think they all think like we should have played for one the last 2 years.
Agreed.
I agree with you guys, and I'm still firmly of the belief that if Jonathan Brooks doesn't get hurt, Texas wins a national championship in 2023. I think,
or if Baxter doesn't get hurt this year.
Yeah, I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
But Jerry, there's something you mentioned, and I think this has got to be taken into account. I think we got to start looking at winning national championships now. Like nobody's going to ever do, I think, what Nick Saban did.
Never. Nobody's dominated.
I think it's more like you look at organizations and coaches that win Super Bowls or maybe even Final Fours to national championships in college basketball. Because now, especially if you don't get that first, and the playoff structure is going to change, but right now, if let's say you don't get that first round bye, you got to win 3 games just to get to the championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is infinitely harder now to win a national championship in college football than ever before, where, that one injury you sustain, that could be the difference between you winning and not winning. Where on one given day, maybe you can get away with it. But if you lose a key player for a playoff run, multiple games, you're toast. But no, I believe 100% that with the way Texas was playing, they were getting Quinn back. Sark had just started to trust Jonathan Brooks. If Brooks stays healthy, Texas beats Washington. They control the clock. And then I think, look, this might be me looking through burnt orange glasses, but I don't care. I looked at it objectively when the playoffs started. I thought Texas was better than Michigan. I really did. I thought the Texas defensive line would have won their battle with the Michigan offensive line, and I felt Texas could score enough to beat Michigan.
Yeah, I was a little I thought Michigan over Texas, and that one I think Texas would have won it this year if they got there, obviously.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Because that stat that Jim Nagy threw out there, who now is the GM, but this was when he was the Senior Bowl executive, that the team that's won the national championship has also had the most draft picks that season.
Yeah.
Since LSU did it in 2020, that has been I think the most glaring trend in college football. It's like, no, you win that title, they also have the most players drafted. It ain't a coincidence. That is.
Hey, Rod, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Who's that going to be next year?
Exactly.
Because Texas is a little younger in terms of NFL draft next year. But does that mean James Franklin's going to cut down the nets next year? I mean,
he did get aggressive in signing Jim Knowles, which is kind of with the trend as well. You go look at the team since LSU, right? It was Joe Brady for them, Todd Monken for Georgia. Michigan brought in the head coach McDonald, the head coach now for Seattle. He came in, and then that defense will. So it's you usually add some component that really ends up being the key ingredient in the secret sauce when you've been kind of on the cusp. But I'm with you, Jerry. I even said for Texas, I said 2026 feels like actually more the year than 2025.
If you're looking at an NFL draft,
if you're trying to look at that trend. But I will say this year feels like anybody could win it kind of year. Like I feel like, and I felt like that a little bit this past year. It felt like that a little bit. Ohio State was kind of the pick, of course. But I think this year feels like it's more up in the air. Penn State might end up being one of the favorites, but I don't know. I feel like this could be a toss-up year.
I think what we got to remember too, guys, is this wave of guys in this last draft, which does beg the question: if you're an underclassman, should you have stayed another year and gone out in the 26th draft? Because that last wave of COVID guys that had extra eligibility, they cycled out in this draft. So I think college football as a whole, it's been an older game the last couple of years. I think college football, Texas isn't the only team. You start looking at Georgia's roster, Ohio State's rosters, start going down the list. I think college football as a whole at the top tier is going to be younger than it's been in a while because there are no more COVID guys.
Yeah.
And you're going to get back to having more talent cycle through and having to replace it faster. Now you do have the portal now, but I think it's going to be a much younger game than we've seen the last few years.
There's 2 games in the month of September next year. Not that they're the only 2, but obviously, well, I guess technically last day. But Texas at Ohio State. But September 27th, I believe, Oregon's at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to know an Arch Manning starting at Ohio State first time starting quarterback. Then Oregon with Dante Moore, who Oregon really likes. Nico's dad should have known this beforehand. Really likes, visits Penn State in late September. Those are your young quarterbacks on teams that are going to be ranked in the top 5. And they're going to be playing Dante Moore, Arch Manning at Ohio State, Dante Moore at Penn State. 2 huge road games for young quarterbacks. It's going to kind of start to define where we're headed in that season, I think.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, guys, we'll get to the super chats here. I see them piling up, and we'll also get to some of your questions. But first, let's thank our sponsor, our friends over at Rogue Shop, before we dive into some of the questions here from the panel and the chat. RogueShop.com, folks. Use the discount code. You see it right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at RogueShop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. They have it all, folks, from oils and creams and flour and gummies as well. And they have a variety of different items to help you deal with a variety of different ailments. Maybe you can't sleep. Maybe it's the anxiety that you're dealing with. Maybe it's aches and pains from battling Father Time, or like me from my old playing days. Either way, my friends over at Rogue Shop, RogueShop.com, they have a ton of different items to help you deal with a lot of different ailments. So we actually remember the On Texas football family tell me they were dealing with some sleep issues, but decided to try Rogue Shop, and now they're sleeping like a baby thanks to some of the items that they purchased over at Rogue Shop. And I encourage you to do the same. Go over to RogueShop.com, use the discount code On Texas. They ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in the Longhorn Nation, our friends at RogueShop.com, they can get their fantastic products to you as long as you're right here nationwide. So RogueShop.com, give them a try, and we appreciate them for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. All right, let's get to the super.
We got a bunch of good questions, chat. We're going to hit your questions.
All right, yeah, we got to dive into the questions right now. All right, how about this one? How about this from Sean first? Sean says, you guys think Quinn regrets not going pro last year?
No, that was a brutal quarterback draft to go into last year.
He did have a better 2023 year, but yeah, I don't know if that. I will say this: I think the NFL is done with quarterback development. That was kind of one of those drafts. That was the statement. Like, we're not developing quarterbacks, man. We need you to come in here pretty much ready to go, especially if we're going to draft you high. Now, if you're a developmental quarterback, it used to be they would take you in the middle rounds. Not this draft. They decided, nah, we're not taking developmental quarterbacks in the middle rounds. We're going to take them very, very late. And apparently that's how they view Quinn, as a very much a developmental project. But I do think he went to the perfect team for him. I honestly, if I had to make a list of the top 3 teams and the top 3 schemes that he is most compatible with, the Dolphins would have definitely been in that top 3. You talk about a lot of pre-snap motion. Nobody has more pre-snap motion or motion at the snap than the Dolphins. Since Mike McDaniel got there, they are arguably the fastest team in the NFL. Sarks are arguably the fastest team year after year in college football. There's a lot of targets to motion, ton of play action, ton of RPO as well. And I think overall, it's like I said, it's from that McShanahan offensive system, which Sark has admitted that he watches those specific coaches a lot and steals concepts from those coaches. As a matter of fact, I remember when Mike McDaniel started the cheat motion, Sark started using it that same season too, when everybody started using the cheat motion where they had motions toward at the parallel to the line of scrimmage, and then when the ball is snapped, boom, then they go upfield. He was using that right after Mike McDaniel started using it, and I actually commented that he definitely got that from Mike McDaniel. So he's watched them, and we know Mike McDaniel's been on campus too. So I think he landed in the perfect spot potentially.
Yeah,
Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer watched him throw at the pro day last year, and a lot of people made a big deal about, Quinn skipped his media availability at pro day. Well, number one, I didn't care, nor should anybody at that point. Number two, He skipped it because he had a meeting with the Dolphins. So clearly there was a lot of interest. And Rod, we talked about it a while back. Another reason why I was a fit for Quinn, let's assume he has to play as a rookie, right? Probably not, but if he did, that offense is already insulates the quarterback to keep Tua healthy. So you're going into an offense that already is pretty quarterback friendly and has a lot of there's a lot of things built into that offense to protect the quarterback from the jump before you even factor in, all right, this guy's a rookie. What do we need to do to protect him? A lot of that's already in their base offense.
It's a great point. And you do got to protect Quinn because he's got injury history, as you talked about. So, and Tua has an injury history, but at least, like you said, offense has been built to get the ball out quickly. All right. And also to protect him. So that I agree with you. I think they do a lot of quick game, a lot of RPO. I like that pick for Quinn in terms of the fit for him. All right. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it. I know some people are saying Quinn should have. There's a conversation now whether he should have transferred and gotten more money because there's discussion, Jerry, that he could have got $4-5 million transferring to another school other than Texas. I don't know. Except that's been reported multiple times by some folks. I think he wanted to be known as a Longhorn, right?
Yeah, 100%. And he's made good money, by the way. I mean, he's already a millionaire if he's good with his money, right? I mean, he's good to start his life after college. I think he did the right thing. Look, the guy grew up wanting to play for Texas. There was a little detour, then he got back. Tom Herman's fault. And maybe he should have never left high school senior year. That was a mistake. We can talk about that for years to come. But look, I mean, he's done pretty well through NIL. And now it's all about, can you stick in the NFL? And I agree with you, Rod. I don't think he wanted to go don another uniform. I think he finished his college career without winning a national championship, probably the way he envisioned it, being the quarterback of the Texas Longhorns and leading them to really good seasons.
I'll say this, the last thing I'll say on Quinn, Rod, if you're one of your good friends in life, Kyle Shanahan, if he can take a team to a Super Bowl with Pump Fake Purdy as his quarterback, I will not sell Quinn short with his NFL future. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, this was a crazy draft when it came to quarterbacks. I mean, a lot of drama with Shedeur. Matter of fact, here Juan opens it up to this discussion. Juan here, thank you, Juan, for the super chat. Says Jerry and Jeff, what do you think of Shedeur's slide on the prank call, and also Quinn's slide as he was happy on the video? Thank you, Juan. We appreciate that. I know the Shedeur slide, guys. What are your thoughts about Shedeur and the drama surrounding it?
Look, I think first of all, when you only meet with a few teams and you kind of big time the process, and that's what happened, then this is kind of what happens in return. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And look, I know because I'm at ESPN Under Armour days. I was around Shedeur when he was growing up. He was always running around the field and stuff. And Deanna was part of that game. We used to help run the Prime 21 camp in Dallas when I was ESPN Under Armour. I think, Rod, I think they tried to go beyond the system of the draft a little bit, and it came back and bit them.
Yeah.
Retiring your jersey, the way all this went down is not. I just don't think that was smart, man. Like that means you're going above and beyond everything and everybody. And if you're an NFL GM, I think that can turn you off. You have to be a special talent to get past some of this crap, in my opinion.
Dan Orlovsky laid out why I said back in the fall, Shedeur is going to be a very tough eval for NFL teams. Number one, a lot of the throws he does make, it's a lot of bubble screens, quick game, a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL. That's kind of a third of Shedeur's tape. There's another third of Shedeur's tape where his offensive line is so bad, he just has to run around and try to make plays. Again, doesn't translate very well to the NFL. And then there's the other third that you have to try and evaluate, and it's not a very big sample. And to your point, Rod, I got Matt Miller from ESPN said it on the Twitter machine today too. This draft is proof the NFL is not a developmental league for quarterbacks anymore. You're either taking guys in the first couple rounds that you think are starters, and you're taking your developmental guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Yeah. That's just the way you're doing it. And if the NFL decided that Shedeur is more of a developmental quarterback, you get into that Colin Kaepernick, Tim Tebow world where teams want their backup quarterback to be seen very little and heard even less. And no NFL team, none of these 32 coaches want to be answering questions about the backup quarterback on a Tuesday after a game. And you really don't want to deal with the potential of the dad going on ESPN and telling Stephen A. Smith, Coach so-and-so is an idiot because they're 0-4 and Shedeur hadn't played yet. Why isn't he playing? So I just think, Jerry, it's nothing. And Shedeur's camp did him no favors in the draft process.
No.
And so you combine all that together, for some teams, it just wasn't worth the headache. Honestly, I'm buying the theory why the Browns took him. I think they had a pick. They'd already taken their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. I think it was Jimmy Haslam just came in and said, we're taking him. I'm the owner. This is my pick. We're doing it.
I can believe that.
I think that's what stopped the bleeding.
I can believe. No, I really could believe that. No joke. I mean, it was the only topic of conversation about the draft was, okay, now a team should stand away from it because they don't want to be the team that drafted them at this point. So, and I've always said this. The truth is, most teams and most head coaches in the field, they're really smart guys, but they have no idea what the hell they're doing when it comes to quarterback. They don't. That was one thing that Mel Kiper was right about, and I've said that for years. They don't know what they're doing. All right, they're just throwing blank at the wall and seeing if it sticks. There are a few coaches that know what they're doing. Very few. And by the way, Bill Walsh said that. He said very few coaches know how to coach the quarterback position. Even fewer know how to evaluate it. That's what the late great Bill Walsh said about it. Right. So I think that is truer now than it's ever been. So that's why I would have taken Shedeur probably a little earlier. I'm like, I don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows if these guys can play or not at the next level. They don't. They don't know, guys. They have no idea. They don't.
I mean, look, the guy went number one, and I think it's an amazing story. Cam Ward, he had 60
primary example. They don't know.
60 turnovers in college. That's a lot of turnovers for a quarterback. That's probably the most college turnovers in history of somebody who went number one in the draft. That's a lot of turnovers. So this is it's going to be interesting to look at them, look at the guys later on through this draft. But I just thought, look, beyond all the other stuff, I thought the jersey retirement thing, and that look, if you're Vince Young running around the college football field, doesn't matter. Okay, if you're a special player, right? But I thought the timing of all that and kind of bypassing all these Colorado greats that had actually done something, won meaningful games, I thought it looked horrible. I thought it was a terrible decision, horrible. And I thought that reeked of things that don't go over real well if organizations are making decisions.
Yeah. No, I love Deion, okay? I want to be number 21 because of Deion. And to your point, Jerry, because I agree with you, I think they view Shedeur as Deion, but without the talent. But people forget, Deion was a bit of a headache. Deion was a diva. And Deion is such a magnetic personality. He will win the locker room, period. And I think Shedeur's got some of that. He's going to win your locker room. And that can be a problem if he's not doing everything right. And if he, you know what I mean? And if you have disagreement within the organization. So I think it's one of those. So it's like, yeah, you do really want to bring him in? Because we'll see how it works out. A lot of drama surrounding Shedeur Sanders.
As a Cowboys fan, Rod, I saw it like when Prime got there. Yes, they won the Super Bowl that first year, but as time went on, Deion could go out on the town. He was a different guy back then. He'll tell you he could go out on the town and come back to practice the next day and be fine. Unfortunately, he drew in a lot of guys that thought they could do the same thing without them realizing, bro, you're not Deion Sanders. Sorry, there's only one of those, and you're not him.
Yep, and I think that's what teams are kind of afraid of, that they're going to get the bad side, not the bad side of Deion, but that side of Deion without the talent, because the talent was worth it. He was worth dealing with. All right, Colin here. Thank you for the super chat, Colin. We appreciate it. So do y'all think Quinn started because Sark was loyal to him or because Sark felt he gave us the best chance to win over Arch? NFL didn't see Quinn's value similar to the UT fans who wanted Arch to start. Ooh, this is good. This is meaty, guys. All right. I'm going to throw it to you, Jerry. Throw it to you first. What are your thoughts about Sark sticking with Quinn as opposed to, I know some Longhorn fans last year wanted him to go with Arch potentially, would have gave Texas maybe a better chance to win a big game down the stretch or maybe break through to a championship. Do you think that Sark? I don't think Sark's that kind of guy. I think because he played quarterback, he empathizes a little with the starting quarterback and puts himself in their shoes. I never thought he was going to make that move, and I think that's my opinion as to why he wouldn't do that, and he'll never do it. By the way,
yeah. Look, I think whatever happens with Quinn in the NFL, which I don't know, man, on that one. He better do a lot of jump roping. He better start reacting to pressure better, or else he has no chance, in my opinion. He did a lot for Texas, though. When he came back from Ohio State and he transferred to Texas, that along with that offensive line, that was a really big shot in the arm for the Texas program. And look, is there loyalty involved? I think it's kind of deserved loyalty from Sark because, look, Quinn did a lot for this program. He did a lot for Texas when Texas needed it, guys. I mean, it was 5-7 and giving up 57 to Kansas at home. Okay, and this program, Sark, the staff needed it. They needed that shot in the arm. And look, I think Quinn did a lot for Texas. I think he leaves a legacy. People can argue about what it is. You go to 2 straight college football playoffs. He did some good things. Did he play up to the level of expectations? No. Was he ever healthy? No. I haven't been healthy since his junior in high school, except this redshirt year in Columbus when there were no hits or game action. But he did a lot for this university in this football program when they needed it, and he was going to get every chance to be a part of the good things under Sark at Texas. Now, what does that mean? Last year at times, I don't know, but I think you would have thrown Arch into some really difficult situations as well. Kind of like when you brought him in to the Georgia game when Georgia's just teeing off, and you bring Arch in. Who's going to save your day at that point? Who's going to save your day? And that could have gone on and on. But I think there was some loyalty there, but I don't think it was bad loyalty necessarily.
Yeah. I think Sark, once he makes up his mind who his starting quarterback is, I think he wants to give that guy every chance to succeed. Go back to Quinn's first year, his redshirt freshman year. There was every reason to pull him in Stillwater. And Sark didn't. There's every reason to pull him in the second half of that TCU game, and he didn't. Now, granted, he had the break glass in case of emergency handle he could pull was just turn around, hand the ball to Bijan and Roshan and get out of there. You didn't necessarily have that this year. But I think there's 2 different things on Quinn, Jerry. One, I think when you talk legacy, I'll just put it to you like this. In the last 35 years, Peter Gardere, James Brown, Vince Young, Colt McCoy, and Quinn Ewers. Those are the Texas quarterbacks that have won conference championships. So to me, that means something. You go to the college football playoff twice, that means something. And I think there's a lot of, I think when you look at Quinn's legacy, there's a lot of mirroring with Chris Sims. Is Quinn Ewers going to be remembered as the greatest quarterback that ever played at Texas? No, and neither is Chris Sims. But if this thing keeps going the way it's trending, you'll look back at Quinn Ewers, Jerry, to your point, and say, I don't know if you get there as fast as you do without him.
No doubt.
Because of everything else that he helped bring to the table in terms of talent you were able to acquire. I think in terms of the loyalty factor, I just think it was Sark had, for better or worse, decided that the 2024 Texas Longhorns, this was going to be Quinn's team.
Yeah. And
he was going to ride or die with Quinn for better or worse, just like for the next 2 years, it's going to be Arch Manning's team. And, in terms of Quinn's NFL value, it says a lot to me how the league looks at Quinn. Again, this is a separate conversation from what we're talking about, or maybe it bleeds in. I don't know. Sam Ehlinger in a deeper quarterback draft had a better draft position than Quinn Ewers. There's no way I thought I'd be sitting here saying that whenever Quinn came out.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it, after the Michigan game, people were talking about him in the first round. I remember it because I remember after this game, he played that well. People were like, oh, man, Quinn Ewers, he might be the first. And that's what the mock drafts, everything. And So to me, it was what really happened. He did have a worse year in 2024 than in 2023. If you're at 2023, Quinn, hell, you might get to the national title, actually. 2023 Quinn was a little bit better than 2024 Quinn. But ultimately, when he gets hurt, which that's another knock on Quinn, is that he'll never make it through a full season. And then everybody gets a taste of Arch. That was it's not apples to apples because the competition level wasn't the same. But it'd be different if Arch had just played average, it looked like a inexperienced quarterback. He didn't. He looked fantastic. Most of that sample size we have, he looked great. And like I said, not apples to apples, but for Longhorn fans, that's why you ain't going to appreciate Quinn for 10, 20 years. It was like what came right after Chris Sims was Vince Young. It was like, well, all right. And then now people are like, Chris Sims wasn't bad at all. I was like, yeah, he was actually pretty damn good. But once you got Vince Young after that, it was like, no. There was no appreciation for, like you said, Jeff, kind of the foundation that helped you get a guy like Vince Young. Nobody cared about that. And that's what Quinn is now. So I think a lot of Longhorn fans, some of us will appreciate what Quinn did. But if Arch is as good as we think he is, the masses will largely forget him for a while. And we'll have to appreciate him, long after his career is probably over.
Jerry, I don't know if this is either here nor there, if it's fish or foul, but going back to your point about the Georgia game, I just think that was less to do with let's see if Arch can give us a spark, and that was Sark looking at Quinn saying, I got to sit him down because he is self-destructing right now.
And that is why, that's why I said he was going to have an issue in the draft, guys.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, those scouts had to go to Sark and say, okay, talk to me about the Georgia game. What do you see where you had to pull your third-year starting quarterback in the biggest game of the season at that point? It's a hard one to explain away, man, at the end of the day. It's a hard one. That is not good for your draft status.
Yeah. No, because Sark's got to still – listen, Sark, I believe at one point when Sark wins multiple national titles at Texas, if the NFL comes calling, he would consider it. And he's got a lot of connections in the league. He considers himself to be an NFL guy and a college guy. He talks about the NFL all the time. Last media availability. He brings up the NFL damn near every media availability, right? He thinks about the NFL and watches it a lot. He wants to be able to continue to cultivate those relationships because as a coach, you never know. And I think you got to tell them the truth. You can't BS them. You got to tell those guys the real truth. They know ball. You can't give them the BS, answer you give the media about Quinn. You got to give them the real. So when like Jerry said, when they ask about Georgia and you benched them, you got to tell them the real. And that, I guarantee it ain't pretty. Ain't no way to shape it. There's no way to, even when they ask Quinn about it, there's no good way to spin that. You can't spin it. You played against, that's the most NFL talent that you faced, arguably in all season. And, it kind of you imploded in the face of it. So
I knew we had a potential to get here with I didn't think Quinn would go in the 7th round. I thought he'd go before.
No,
that.
I didn't either. I thought
even going back last year at the pro day, Rod, I don't remember if you were there, but Jerry, I think you were there. And you could even hear kind of the buzz from even the NFL scouts at that point was, he had the fastest guy in the history of the combine. He had A.D. Mitchell's going to be a top 50 receiver. Jonathan Brooks is going to be a top 50 pick. Jatavian Sanders is going to be probably a top 100 pick. Kelvin Banks will be a first rounder next year. He had all this talent around him. Why wasn't the production and the presence from him better? You'd already started to hear that last year. So I think that was part of it. Maybe that planted the seed. And listen, I am not comparing Quinn to the guy I'm about to mention. All right. So I'm not making the comparison. But what kind of butt am I looking for here, Rod?
The Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size.
Thank you. When Tom Brady came out in 2000, after his career was done at Michigan, we're talking about, Jerry, you mentioned those conversations Sark had to have with NFL scouts about that Georgia game. Lloyd Carr had to answer the same question about Tom Brady because, hey, it's not like y'all were standing on the table to start the guy. Why did you keep going back to Drew Henson? What prevented you from making Tom Brady the guy? On top of the fact that Tom Brady had maybe the worst combine a quarterback has ever had in the history of the combine. That didn't help either. But yeah, when NFL scouts hear the unabashed truth or they get some confirmation bias, that's really hard to overcome.
That's good. That's a good point. All right, let's get back to, thank you for the super chat there. Let's get to KD35, I am the best. He says, my Vikings jump quick to sign Bowden. Yes.
I expect the clickbait site to pick up my Tom Brady Quinn Ewers comment and run with it.
They're going to leave out the part at the beginning. You said, I am not comparing these.
So what is that? Is that 16 guys that have either been drafted or signed? Four or five was 17?
Majors.
Yeah. Because you got Silas Bowden was one of your Jake Majors also, right? Ended up being signed as an undrafted free agent, correct?
Silas Bowden, yeah. David Benda, Bill Norton with the Rams. Gavin Holmes with the Titans.
And Gavin Holmes.
Okay. And by the way, a good time to address it. Isaiah Bond, because somebody asked. I did not expect him to be drafted or signed until these guys get answers on the allegations. Whether that's fair or not, La'el Collins went for my first, second round grade to undrafted.
Damn. Yeah. That's it's unfortunate, man. It is. That's brutal. Because that was a guy they were talking about a second round potential grade. Second round, among the top 5 to 6 receivers potentially in the class. And going to that to undrafted. So we'll see if there's any resolution to that issue for Isaiah Bond down the line. All right, back to the super chats. We got a bunch of them. Thank you guys. How about Sailor Joe says the team playbook was built for Quinn and the SEC level play. Sark didn't account for the injury. Next season team will evolve. 2025 maybe, but 2026, boom. That's the one. Thank you, Sailor Joe. I feel that way too. But I said 2025 because 2025 the defense actually could still be pretty special because you got an All-American at every level. So depending on how special that defense is, and if Texas, is Archie a better quarterback in critical moments? The thing that hurt Quinn, he was not great under pressure. Like he would just implode. Footwork would deteriorate. Mechanics would decay under pressure. He was just bad under pressure. And by the way, every quarterback, even Tom Brady, we saw even Patrick Mahomes, we saw in the Super Bowl. All right. They become average to above average quarterbacks under pressure. But you can't completely implode under pressure. And at times, Quinn would just implode under pressure. Self-sacks, things in the worst case scenario.
The feet stop moving.
Yes. So he would stare. I would say it seems like he would look at the pressure and get shook. Instead of feeling, it's just a quarterback should feel the pressure, not look at it. I think he would see it and look at it, where his eyes should be downfield. He should be feeling the pressure. But anyway, that's it. He was not great. Texas wasn't great on third downs with Quinn. And they weren't great in the red zone necessarily with Quinn either. If RH is better in those areas, the offense actually doesn't have to be as explosive as they've been in recent years, and they still could be more efficient, but not as explosive. I feel like that could be the case because Arch will be able to escape better than Quinn, and that may help third down, that may help red zone, and maybe he makes less mistakes under pressure than Quinn did. Makes fewer mistakes, I should say.
This might be a good time to mention some spring stuff. Jeff, I know you got something to say. I was just going to throw this one out there. Things we heard here at this last scrimmage, was told Nick Brooks has potential to be a high draft pick. Brandon Baker had a good better second half of spring than first half, and it's going to come down to consistency finishing, which he's getting better at. DJ Campbell had his best spring at Texas. Wingo got a lot of mention yesterday. Lance Jackson got a lot of mention talking to some people in Austin yesterday as far as upside, along with Justice Terry. Cade Phillips the same way. Grayson Littleton the same way. The freshman class is really good. Then the young receivers have all had their moments. Obviously, McCutcheon farthest ahead as far as route running, things like that at Lovejoy, training with margin hooks. Jamie French, Khalid Lockett, really big upsides. So a lot of things that maybe that would trigger some questions for you guys in the chat. But I heard a lot of positives coming out of spring at the end. One of the big ones was Texas defense. For the people that have really watched it, looks, really, really talented, Rod. Really talented. And that you don't even have the portal D lineman in yet, the other two guys, because I think Murad Watson's an absolute stud. Heard that Alex January is really good on Saturday. Had a good spring. Brad Spence, last half of the spring was chef's kiss, apparently.
Nice.
A lot of good things coming out.
I just, Jerry, we talked about the talent in that on defense. It just kind of reminds me, Rod, I go back to your 2001 defense, and people want to know how do you get over a big loss? You lose Sean Rogers and Casey Hampton in a Big 12 where the air raid has fully infiltrated the league at that point, and you end up leading the nation in total defense. Losing 2 all-pro defensive tackles. So that it's proof that you can overcome that with the right talent. And I think Texas has the talent specifically at edge and linebacker to overcome that. Now, Jerry, I'm glad you spoke first there, because what I was going to mention in relation to kind of Sailor Joe's question a little bit, the stuff we heard about Arch towards the end of spring practice and after yesterday. One was, Rod, you mentioned it, it's the quarterback run game. And I think the fact that it is a part of the offense now, it's not going to be a big part, but the fact that it's, you plant the seed of doubt is there, that's going to help you be a better third down team and a better red zone team, I think, all on its own. I think the other part of that, Arch's command of the offense, his presence within the offense, I think that is going to make things, that's got the potential to make things flow a little bit better. And the one thing I don't know, though, Quinn had some gunslinger in him where he'll trust his arm too much, and we see that a lot of times with young quarterbacks. The one thing that I can honestly say infuriated me with Quinn were not just the turnovers, it's the red zone turnovers. It's when you're right there and you got a chance to put a foot on somebody's throat and you fumble or you throw a pick, and whether it's on the quarterback or not, that inside the 20 in the red zones where you have to be heightened sense of urgency protecting the football. And Jerry, this goes back to stuff you and I talked about for years. I don't know if that's a football IQ thing, if that's a processing thing. I feel like Arch is going to be better in that area than Quinn, where Arch will be more likely to say, I'll throw it away, maybe take a sack, live to fight another down, especially now, hopefully, fingers crossed, you've got a kicker that you feel is dependable.
Yeah, look, I think Arch is going to be much more aggressive in the red zone, Rod. Much more aggressive, confident in what he sees, and lets it rip. Now, I think the thing with Arch to watch for me, and by the way, they did more QB run stuff in Saturday scrimmage, or he hadn't made more plays with his feet, however you want to define that. I think the biggest thing, and it's young quarterbacks who love to throw the ball down the field and a coach who loves to throw the ball down the field, deep, late, middle. That for a young quarterback that likes to throw it down the field, and it can't start game 2. It's got to be game 1 at Columbus. Because the deep lates, the late middles, if you get a couple of picks in a game like that with young quarterbacks who really like to throw the ball, press it vertically down the field, that's the biggest thing they have to watch. I think once Arch, hopefully, I want to say gets it out of his system, and I think all quarterbacks do. You hope it does. It's not get it out of your system at Ohio State. I think he's going to take a big step. I just think he's going to be so confident in what he sees pre-snap, and his confidence in what he sees in play. I think he's going to be much more aggressive in the red zone, Rod.
Yeah. It's so rare. I was talking to somebody about this. It was like, it's so rare these days for a quarterback to sit in a same system for 2 years and then end up starting in their third year, especially a blue chip, like an elite 5-star 4-star. He said it doesn't happen. He said usually they leave after the first, second year and they go somewhere else. He said that's why he thinks Arch is going to be really good, that he's been in the system and he sat for so long and taken those mental reps and been in those discussions that I'm sure those very spirited discussions that Sark was having with Quinn about, decision-making in the red zone, stuff of that nature, and that he learned a lot, from those situations. And these days you don't see quarterbacks. Usually if you're a good quarterback like that, you play immediately or you transfer somewhere and play immediately. That wasn't the case for Archie. They're doing it. This is something a little bit different. I think it's actually going to help him get off to a faster start.
I want to bring up Cameron Miller's comment because to tail into what we're talking about, because I think it is one of the best comments we've had on here in a while. The reason I love football players, multi-sport playing basketball, is because they learn spatial awareness without having to see it, especially in small places like inside the box. Cam, I 100% agree. Quarterbacks too. Look, I mean, KJ Lacey was a point guard. Arch Manning wasn't the best basketball player on his team. They won state. He was on the basketball team. I think feet reactive quickness with your peripheral, creates reactive quickness with your feet. It makes you an athlete, a bend knees, laterally slide, move your feet under constant moving things in your peripheral. I think it's great for all football players. Think about the big guys you've watched, Rod, the offensive linemen playing basketball and how much it helped their feet. But quarterbacks, and here's the other thing with quarterbacks. I'll never forget this. I've told this story before. I was at a satellite camp, I think at Cypress, at one of the Cypress schools back in the day. And I was listening to Art Briles, Kendall, I think some TCU coaches, a couple others were there. And they were talking about quarterbacks. And Kendall was Art was talking about Jarrett Stidham. He said, the other thing with quarterbacks is, he said, I like quarterbacks who play both sports but aren't the best basketball player. He said, because they're leaders on football on Friday night, and then they get all that footwork and they get all that stuff in through basketball, but they have to be a teammate. So they learn to lead in different ways. They learn to be a teammate and watch other guys lead, and then they're leaders on Friday night. I love basketball for quarterbacks, dude. If there's anybody who has young quarterbacks out there, you say, I may just go one sport, be specialty. I say play basketball as long as you can, man.
Yeah. No, Sark loves multi-sport athletes. Sark himself a multi-sport athlete. I was talking to Keith Moreland today, Big Red. People forget Keith Moreland, Big Red, DBU, baby. And multi-sport athlete before. I think he hurt his arm, and then he wanted to focus on baseball, and made the right decision. I think we all can agree with that. He said he tried to hit Earl Campbell one day, and he realized that he's like, I'm playing baseball. But no, to your point, I was actually watching an interview with Jahdae Barron, and Jahdae Barron was talking about, and like I said, I don't know what sports he played in high school. But he was talking about how he boxed. He had boxing lessons from Ann Wolf when he was like a 6th grader or a 7th grader. And he said, that's actually where my peripheral vision came from. He said, I actually had to work my peripheral vision a lot from boxing. I thought about it, I was like, oh, actually, it makes a lot of sense. I never thought about that, but it makes a lot of, he said, in my footwork, because and talking about how light he is on his feet, getting out of his breaks. And he was like, that's also boxing. He said, we should do an hour of just dancing around in the ring, very deliberate, premeditated, steps. And he said that helped his footwork a lot. So to your point about the multi-sport athletes, yeah, there's no doubt. You're just cultivating athletic awareness. I think Bill Walsh used to always talk about that. He was like, no, I like Bill Walsh. When he was talking to Jim Harbaugh one day, Jim Harbaugh asked him, like everybody asked the late great Bill Walsh, what do you look for in a quarterback? And the beautiful thing about Bill Walsh, he would often be consistent, and sometimes he would just go off and say something totally different. And all there's all these records of him with Sark too. All these guys asking Bill Walsh, what do you look for in the quarterback? And sometimes he would give the same answer, and sometimes he would give a different one. And with Jim Harbaugh, he gave him a very different answer. He said, I look for athletic instincts. To Jerry's point, he said, I look for the guy that can, be the 6th man coming off the bench in basketball. I look for the guy, that he also can go out and play, left field and or first base in baseball. That kind of guy. He said he said athletic instincts.
You know who was like that? I mean, I think he's still in the league. I mean, Shane Bussell was like that. Shane Bussell wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the best athlete. He didn't have, but he had really good. Like, he was one of those guys that tennis, whatever he did, he could see it, visualize it, and pick it up quickly. That's athletic instincts.
That's good. Yeah. Actually, I think it's exactly what Bill Walsh was talking about too. All right, good discussion, guys.
I'll say this too, Jerry, to back up your point. You think about a guy that his game is all about, or was all about, spatial awareness, timing, processing quickly. The first real look I had at Colt McCoy was watching him in the state basketball tournament.
We're sitting next to each other, I believe.
Yep. Colt McCoy at the state basketball tournament.
Wasn't a scorer. Wasn't the best player on that team, but you know what he did? He defended. He played team defense. He rotated on defense. He understood spacing on fast break. He understood it all. Athletic instincts, very, very, very important in athletics.
That's a good point. All right, Longhorn Blood, thank you for the super chat. It says, Jerry, I noticed Derek Cooper canceled his visit to Penn State yesterday while on campus. Did we jump to the top of his list?
I don't know about the top. Look, he's never been on campus. I know there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I call half of it clickbait, but whatever. Stuff coming out. But Derek Cooper had a great visit. By the way, in person, looks awesome. I mean, I thought he was a 5-star prospect before. I'm going to go see him in May, by the way. So we'll have a report from down there in South Florida in May. I'm going to be on the road a lot in May. with around spring practices, but looked great physically too. But yeah, I mean, look, he canceled Penn State. Texas will get an official visit date. We're going to see if he shuffles that around. Texas prefers a weekend visit, but we'll see. Did Texas jump to the top of the list? I'm not going to say that. Look, he was a one-time Georgia commit. He's been to Georgia multiple times, even since he decommitted. He's going back there June 13th for an official visit, unless he changes that date. Headed into the visit, Georgia and Miami were the top two. Then Ohio State was third. And then, we'll see what happens after that. I think Texas is going to be in the fight there. I think they're going to be squarely in the fight. And Texas had a great week last week with all the kids from Florida. Justice Fitzpatrick had a great visit to Texas. I was told his family mom was extremely impressed, and that says a lot because you got to remember her other son's Mika Fitzpatrick. She's been through this before with one of the top prospects in the country. So, and I think Kendall Gurville, great visit. Do I think Texas is going to get Gurville? I'm not going there. These recruitments have a lot to play out. In the NIL space, there's a lot of winding in the roads coming on these June official visits. But I think Texas has did a great job with all those Sunshine State kids that made their way and all the kids that made the way. The Cameron Hamil, the corner out of Goodyear, Desert Ridge, originally from Fort Wayne. Rod, he looked unbelievable physically. I mean, he looked ready to play college football today. And I think he had a great visit. He'll come back for a June official visit. Texas is knocking it out of the park with the visits, as they should. They got so much going on. I mean, think about a kid. Showing up to campus for the first time ever last weekend at Texas. Derek Cooper, Kendall Gurville, Cameron Hamil. Fitzpatrick's a midweek, so didn't count. Devon Benjamin, Texas had a great visit with, probably a top safety DB on the board, period. Rod, apparently the Devon Benjamin kid out of Oaks Christian was as good on the board as a high school recruit as any DB Texas has recruited under Sark. That says a lot. Yes, yeah. That's what I was told. But think about being on campus for the first time last weekend. You have Texas A&M baseball stuff going on. You had Fan Day and thousands of people lined up for the team shop and autographs and stuff. There's such a energy on the campus around athletics right now. You walk into Moncrief and they're sitting there doing renovations. You're like, these facilities are amazing. Nope, got to upgrade, about to redo the locker rooms and everything. So it's continuing to build. But the energy, just being there around Texas A&M baseball weekend, around Fan Day. If you had a prospect on campus for the first time, there's literally the only way that kid doesn't walk away impressed is if he wasn't offered.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was down there. That was a vibe. Now there was definitely a vibe down there with the Texas baseball being right down the way, playing the Aggies too. So good stuff there, Jerry. Thank you. We appreciate the super chat, Longhorn Blood. How about this one? This one from Blake here says, I think we assume the reasons Quinn went in the 7th. Have y'all spoken to any coaches, GM scouts on the eval? How much did injuries factor in? Thank you for the super chat there, Blake. Yeah, I assume injuries were a big part of it. I mean, Quinn hasn't been healthy for an entire season since his maybe junior year of high school.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that plays a big role. Trust me, that drops your draft stock as much as anything. I did not think he would get drafted in the 7th round. I thought he would go 3rd.
I had 5th. I mean,
okay. I was thinking middle rounds. So I will admit something dropped his stock a little bit more drastically than I anticipated, and in some of the mocks and things that I had seen. But 7th round, listen, guys, it is I know people don't like to believe it. It is a blessing to get drafted no matter where you get drafted at. Like it is I got the numbers here. I actually pulled them up because I wanted to share them. I won't get them to it right now because we got a super chat to get to, but I'll give you the numbers on how rare it is to get drafted. So I hope the guys, when they get over their disappointment, I'm sure Quinn was disappointed when where he got drafted, they realized like, hey, this still was the dream. Like the dream was to get drafted, to play in the NFL. Still got a chance, to achieve it. So
I think injuries played a small part. I just think, look, if you study him as an NFL prospect, though, man, name a quarterback that is slow to react to pressure that's successful. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, even though he didn't have a good Super Bowl, he still reacted with his feet well. If you lock up under pressure, man, that's a tough league to play in. I don't know, man.
Yeah. No, how about this? This is the thing. how much of this, because Quinn did not get better from 23 to 24. How much is that, because development is a big part of the success of Sark's blueprint here in Texas. They've done a great job developing. Quinn came in, 5-star quarterback. Did Quinn develop as we thought? And how much of that does Quinn have to take credit for, or like responsibility for that? Yeah, I didn't get the most out of Quinn. That's all right. I'll get the most out of Arch.
No, when I look at it, I watched Quinn throughout 23, watched him get better. There were things mechanically that you saw improve from 22. He was making some strides. I felt like this with Quinn when he had the hernia surgery his junior year at Southlake and then came back, and you could tell at that point some bad habits had started to develop. I think because of the nature of the injury with the oblique, I just think he fell back into some bad habits with footwork and, just throwing all shoulders. You can see there's healthy Quinn and on the men Quinn. It looks like two different quarterbacks throwing the football. So I think injuries had as much to do with as much to do with it as anything.
Yeah, because Quinn always looked his best at the beginning of the season in those big-time non-conference games where he was well prepared because of Sark's game plan against Bama and Michigan. But as the injuries would set in, he wouldn't look like the same quarterback. So thank you, Blake. We appreciate that. Michael here has a super chat. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. Says college football is getting younger with the end of the COVID year. NIL plus improved portal process will make the college game better. Some players stay senior years for NIL instead of drafted late or undrafted free agents. What say you?
I think there's some layers to this, and it's actually an interesting question because whether it's Cam Williams or Tyree Ingram Dawkins at Georgia, look, I get both sides of an argument. Oh, if you stay, can you improve your draft stock? Sure, that's possible if you stay healthy. But then there's the other side of the argument. What if you've already made, I don't know, $1.5 million in NIL, and the salary caps went up $50 million this year? And I was looking at the numbers. Your fifth-round pick and your fifth-round pick still get $5 million contract. $5 million contract is a fifth-rounder, Rod. Your sixth-round picks are still $4.45 to $4 million contracts. So if you've already made $1 million, $1.5 million in NIL, if you're good with your money, you had good people around you, and you're like, you know what? I just want to go try to live my dream, man. Maybe I don't like school. Maybe I'm sick of it. I just don't want to do it. If I'm going to work this hard, I want to do it as a pro. And if you already did well in NIL and you're sitting, that $50 million that salary cap bump, the contracts for sixth-round picks went up $800,000 this year. Wow. 900,000 on fifth-round picks. So you're still, you may already be close to a millionaire. You're already a millionaire, and you're doing what you have always wanted to do. Try to be a pro athlete. Now you got to go get it done, but it's so much has changed for NIL, and TV money that these guys are making. Even the sixth-round picks are getting $4.5 million contracts, man. Damn. It's crazy getting to think about.
Now, that's a good point about I've made good money. Why don't I just go achieve my dreams? And $500,000 or whatever is not the millions I'll get on the second contract. But when you got millions in the bank, you're good. That's good money. I agree with you on that, Jerry. All right. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate the super chat. Oh, Michael has another one too. I'm going to double back here. Michael, here's another one from Michael. Another super chat as well. Thank you. Do you think good high school quarterbacks will strategically use Texas to get some time working with Sark and company before transferring? I feel like Owens is getting caught in a numbers game with KG and Dia. I'm on the record. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat again. I'm on the record, Michael, and I've said it. I've been saying it for a year now. Trey Owens will not. I don't think he's going to finish his eligibility at Texas. I think he will pull more like a Malik Murphy, help you stabilize the position. So I do think he'll be here this year. Because I hope that he, wants to be the backup for Texas. So I think he'll stay here 1 year, but I don't think he'll stay here to compete for the starting job in two years. When 2 years after Arch is done starting, I don't think he'll be here for that.
Yeah, look, my thought on this is, and we hope it doesn't happen. You hope Arch is healthy. all season, but quarterbacks get hurt. You know what? And Trey Owens at some point is probably going to have to come out and play. And whether you get dinged, you roll out of a minor ankle, and you lose a few snaps or half or something, and all it takes is one good game if you're really talented. And somebody saying $2 million a year, come be our guy. And at that point, Sark is going to pat that guy on the back and say, "We love you. Go get it."
Yeah,
because if you look at your position well, you're not worried about that scenario.
Exactly.
This is a bigger picture thing for me, but if we're saying the NFL is no longer a developmental league for quarterbacks, which it's not, and the college game is developing these guys, and I think we're already seeing spring practices change, like the current practice model of, your spring ball, summer workouts, like that's not conducive to where college football is right now. Then let's just, the veil of amateurism has already been ripped off. Let's just make college football a developmental game. Structure your OTAs and your off seasons to where quarterbacks are getting developed. And if the college game is a developmental game, name me a head coach right now that's got a better track record developing quarterbacks than Sark.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's like him and like Lincoln Riley. It's like a club in the college of like
Ryan Day's name.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 guys in college that kind of have that status. But you're right, Sark's definitely in that conversation. To Michael's point, that's why I think some quarterbacks may look at it. Hey, I want to go get that Sark stamp of approval, like a Lincoln Riley stamp of approval, and then you know how NFL coaches feel about that player. So that's a good point. And Sailor Joe also. Another super chat. Thank you, Sailor Joe. On a very similar topic, but I don't want to be redundant here. But it says, checking back, has your outlook changed? Who might leave our QB room this fall? Or are we good? Last time you mentioned Trey Hookham, gentlemen. Yeah, I said I think Trey will be here because I think Trey wants that opportunity that Jerry discussed and talked about. The 1 or 2 games where, all right, it's my show, and that's all he needs. But like I said, I don't think he'll be here when Arch is done with his, eligibility, or when Arch decides to go to the NFL to compete for that job. I don't think he'll be. That's just my opinion. So that's what
too much money out there for quarterbacks right now.
He's a good one, man. He's a good one. That's why I like him. That's why I'm saying that, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Too much money for quarterbacks, and if we're being even more realistic about it, his clock has already started. So, it's the longer he stays the backup at Texas. I mean, I guess if you're not putting bad tape out there, your value doesn't change much. But at some point, he needs to maximize his value. He'd be smart. He'd be stupid not to. Jerry, to your point earlier, if somebody tells Trey Owens, if it gets to him in the winter portal window, like, hey, we'll pay you, $3.5 million to come be our starting quarterback, you'd be stupid not to do it.
Yeah. See you, brother. And we're gonna wish you the best of luck too.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you in the draft. Katie 35 I'm the best says very early, but not counting first round picks. Which Longhorn or Longhorns do you think will have the best NFL career? This includes undrafted free agents.
Not counting the
first round pick. So no Banks, no Golden in this, no Janae Barron. So just take the guys after that first day. Who do you think has the best? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, go Jeff. I'm gonna go after y'all. Go.
I want to say Alfred Collins, but the boomer bust factor concerns me. I don't know that his body will allow him to have a 10, 12 year career, but I think in the peak of his NFL career, I think Andrew Makuba's peak will be better than the peak of anybody else in that second undrafted free agent. I just don't know physically if he's going to be able to be a 10, 12 year guy, but he might be a 7-year guy. But there'll be a 3 or 4 years where you're like, dude, he was like a Pro Bowl, all pro level safety.
I'll tell you where I'm going. Matthew Golden has a really good young quarterback.
No first rounders though.
Oh, sorry, he's out. Dang it. I was thinking about Gunnar Helm, but Gunnar Helm could depend a little bit on Cam Ward being good. Like, who's going in? Well, if an offensive player is going to go in who has a good quarterback, because that does help you in the league.
Yep, it does.
So obviously Golden first round. I messed that up. Makuba, I think is a good one. Rod, what do you got? I mean,
Makuba was mine. I look at. He's got pass rush in front of him. He's got The safety position is one of the only positions that isn't loaded, isn't like a star-studded, jam-packed position for the Eagles. So he'll see the field sooner rather than later, and I think he'll shine when he does. Like I said, I think he earns that starting job in the next 2 years, and then after that, with the Eagles, I mean, you can be a star on that defense because he's a great middle field safety with a lot of range. He can man up if they need him to. So I think he can kind of be and we know he can come down and hit, which is usually the concern when you get a small safety. So I'm with Jeff on that one. I think Makuba is going to have, out of the first round, guys, aside from them, he'll have the best career in my opinion.
Who can have the longest career, Barron Sorrell strikes me as a guy that I think could play like 10, 12 years in the league.
He's with the organization for that.
He's going to be dependable. He's going to be durable. You can rely on him. I just feel like he's going to be a pro for a really long time.
What are the odds of the draft being in Green Bay and then the Green Bay Packers drafting two guys that were actually there at the draft?
Wow. That's so cool, man.
And only like a few, not that many guys go to the draft, guys, and both of them were there. That was pretty good. I was so happy for Barron Sorrell. Good for him.
And I want to hit this one real quick. I don't think it needs to be a long discussion, but because we've been talking about Quinn, do you think Jackson Dart was first round worthy?
No.
Pure talent wise, yes, but the end of the Florida game, not for me. And that doesn't mean he's not going to go on and be a really good player, but the end of the Florida game, I have real concerns. But maybe it's a young guy grow talent wise. Jackson Dart is supremely talented. I mean, he kind of fits the NFL mold now, Rod, the athleticism that he has, the arm talent he has. But the end of that Florida game, man, has me worried about him because that was a real meltdown now. And when you had to win to get in the playoffs, that was a real meltdown.
It was. I remember watching that too. It was hard to watch. It was like crazy.
He had yellow socks. That's what yellow socks.
But the one thing they love about Jackson Dart's skill set, he pushes the ball downfield. Something Quinn didn't do. So Quinn had a lot of crutches in his offense, a lot of play action passes, a lot of RPO, a lot of screen passes, but also look at the yards per attempt, look at the ADOT. It's on quick game. It's all underneath stuff. What they like about Jackson Dart's game, look at his yards per attempt. I think he's like one of the national leaders in yards per attempt. He goes down the field and takes shots down the field. Quinn didn't do enough of that and was accurate. That's why they think Quinn was playing, more of a rudimentary style of football. And that's not NFL quarterback football. They want to see if you can just straight drop back and can you make plays vertically down the field in straight drop back situations. Quinn really never had straight drop back.
And then athletically, can you move to evade rush?
Yes, and Quinn can't do that either. So
and that's what Dart can do.
My concern with Dart is, you go back to Lane Kiffin's time at FAU when he had Kendall Browse as his OC, and then he gets Jeff Lebby at Ole Miss. His Lane's offense is veered more toward the veer and shoot, pardon the pun. Other than RG3 before the knee injury, and like maybe a couple years in there with Kevin Kolb, name me a veer and shoot quarterback that's had just unprecedented levels of success in the NFL. I think that system is very, very, very great college system, but very quarterback friendly. So I haven't seen a veer and shoot quarterback do it.
That's a good point. I like that. All right, let's thank our sponsor one more time, our friends over at Rogue Shop. Then we'll answer one more question in tonight's live stream. Thank you to RogueShop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Remember, use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at RogueShop.com. They have it all, folks, from oils and creams to flour and gummies as well, and they ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends at Rogue Shop can get their fabulous products to you. So no matter what you're dealing with, maybe it's anxiety, sleep deprivation, maybe just the aches and pains of battling Father Time. Our friends at Rogue Shop have a variety of different items to help you battle those ailments. A member of the On Texas Football family told me they were dealing with some sleep issues and couldn't get to sleep and was having trouble getting a restful night of sleep. And then they tried a couple of items at Rogue Shop, and now they sleep like a baby thanks to Rogue Shop. So I encourage you to do the same. No matter what you're dealing with, just give them a try. RogueShop.com, and don't forget to use that discount code on Texas, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Thank you to our friends at RogueShop.com for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. Last question, super chat. Thank you, Travis R. Says, what can you say about women's basketball commit Judd Neepkins? Hope I got that right.
Ashton Judd from Missouri just committed to Texas out of the portal.
Oh, okay.
That happened about within the last 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, All right. Travis R. Might have to get back with you on that. I hadn't realized that just happened. So
she's 11.5 points, 5 rebounds a game, 6'1". Actually, Missouri. She's from Missouri. Really hit 56 threes, 36.6 from 3. Very welcome addition in that regard. Texas women's, they just need more catch and shoot perimeter threats. She shot 39.5 from the field overall. So she's not going to score it a lot in the paint necessarily, but 56 3-point makes at 36.6% a take for this Texas team. So solid addition for the I call them Lady Longhorns because they need perimeter threats on this team.
Good stuff, Jerry, as always. And thank you, Travis R, for the super chat. Thank you guys all for the super chats. So many questions, good questions that we did not get to, and I really apologize for that. If you still want to get your questions answered, please direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football tomorrow morning, 8:15, Jerry Hamilton, and the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Burton. We also will have our winning drive tomorrow. That'll be with myself, CJ Vogel, and Coach Bob Shipley. So if we missed any of your questions you have them for myself or CJ or Bob, Coach Bob Shipley, you can direct them to the winning drive. That'll be at 3:15 tomorrow. Thank you very much to Matthew behind the scenes. He's a real MVP. Thank you to RogueShop.com. Remember to use that discount code on Texas to get a very special discount from our very special friends at RogueShop.com. I said, thank you guys for your participation. The show flew by because you guys made it so much fun.
Almost 80,000 subscribers. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks to all the pet.
Yeah.
Said hello to a few of you guys around Fan Day we saw. So thanks for y'all's continued support. And if we didn't hit your your question, David Keith Williams had a couple of recruiting questions. Justice Fitzpatrick, corner or safety. It depends on where his frame goes. That one for sure. Somebody asked about Jarrett Gibson. He walked by me Saturday, leaned out a little bit, Rod. He looks a little leaner right now. Looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, Jarrett Gibson looked good. So a couple of those questions that we didn't have time for. But we'll hit all your questions coming up this week.
Hey, Jerry did promise me, guys, off the record that when we get to 80K, he'll do the next episode of Coffee and Football in one of those blow-up waiting pools full of Duke's Mayo.
Yeah.
He told me that off the record, so I don't know.
Well, now's the perfect time, man. We got to make that happen. So become an OTFOG. You know what I mean? There you go. Use that discount code and you'll get hooked up and you can be a member of the On Texas football family officially. So we appreciate all you guys' support. You guys are fantastic. Thank you to Matthew. Please give it up for him behind the scenes. And for Matthew and for Jeff and for Jerry, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.